At first, before my pursuit of music, um, you know, I was, wanting to do my parents' dreams, which was, go to college and, get a job. But but once I really got a taste of what the music really felt like on a professional level, mentally, it was no turning back. It's what I wanted to do. So you know, even coming out of high school,
Yeah.
that was my goal. Was to pursue music, definitely.
Yeah, but then who could you see as a that's within touch and distance? So because sometimes when you are thinking about okay, so if I flash back to when I interviewed Eric Williams from Blackstreet, he said he could see Big Bub and Today and Regina Bell. These are people that they grew up with. So when they got signed and they were making records, it's like, oh, if they could do it, we knew them as kids, we can do it. So for yourself, who had already made it that you could think, oh, there's a career in this, and if
Well, coming from where coming from Sacramento, you mentioned Jay King,
yeah,
of course, and then there was also a person who passed away, but his name was Robert Brookins, and he was kind of like the blueprint, to us. Of course, there's always like the big names like your Michael Jacksons and back then, because I was like the Billie Jean and Thriller era,
yeah,
but we kind of looked to our locals that made it, because if you made it out of Sacramento back then, like that was really big. And so we had like our Robert Brookins, which really gave us hope that we all can make it. And then after Robert Brookins, there was Derek, DOA.
okay,
So when DOA made it, and DOA when he auditioned for Janet Jackson and made it, like that was a huge deal to us.
wow.
Yeah, so yeah, it gave us all hope and the confidence that we all can make it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
wow. Okay. So, I mean, back in that days was so Jay King had returned and started, finished with Timex and started Club Nouveau. Was that
Yes,
popping in Sacramento?
yes, yes. That was a huge deal. That was a huge deal for us. Like I said, those were our our leaders, our heroes,
Hmm.
and our guidance, definitely, without a doubt.
The at the time then when Foster McCleary, when they split to start off in Vogue and start their stuff, did it even seem that as producers or as musicians that you could actually, because that was about 1989, 1990, is Sacramento sort of a small market where you guys all knew each other, or?
No, well, some of us did. Like back then, Sacramento was a real tight knit community. So, some of us knew people outside of Sacramento. Me myself, I didn't know too many people outside of Sacramento. As far as in the music industry,
Yeah.
that didn't change for me until I actually moved to Los Angeles in 1990, 91.
Oh, so when these guys were coming up with En Vogue and Club Nouveau, you had already moved to Los Angeles?
Yes, yes, yes. And I was playing drums for various artists back then, and so I was playing drums professionally for different artists back then. So that was my first initial position in the music business. Back then I was playing drums at first.
Okay.
And then eventually, it rolled over to me producing.
Yeah. So if we start off with that, so when you are playing drums, what was it like being a musician in those early days when it was okay, you get hired to do shows? Is it, that doesn't seem like the security and the stability. I mean, what was it like for you?
It was, it was, looking back, it was actually, I mean, it was good for me. I mean, I worked a lot, I mean, the money, looking back, the money wasn't all that, but, back then it was just more about, gigging and being on the road and going on tour and being on television and, going on the road to places that I've never ever been in my life, that I've never seen before. And so it was just, just one new adventure. So it wasn't really about the money then.
Okay.
It was just more about, fulfilling your dreams and, it was unbelievable, until, reality started kicking in as far as, having to survive. Then of course, that's when, the money was like, okay, I gotta turn this thing around and, start making some real money, but it was definitely a milestone in my life that I'm definitely grateful for,
So who were the early people that you played for when you first started?
My very first gig was, I played for this artist named Tracy Spencer.
Oh, okay, Tracy Spencer.
Yes, I was her drummer, and we toured and we did. Back then, it was Johnny Carson, Arsenio Hall, and I believe we did David Letterman. And then we went on tour, and then from there, it was a host of other artists. I played for Brandy.
Oh, but if we go back to Tracy, because I know
Yes.
she was quite big at the time. How did you get the gig? I mean, did she have to audition you, or does somebody else get to do that? And you just
Yes. No, there was a music person back then. His name was Bruce Sterling, and Bruce was the go-to guy for all of these R&B artists. And so he actually auditioned us. So I had to audition along with everybody else.
Yeah.
And I got the gig. Yeah.
And then when you get the gig, do you get do you and the, like, Tracy get to not hang out, but does she interact with you guys, or is it pretty much here's the songs you rehearse and there's a separation?
No, we we got the gig, and then we started rehearsing, and she was definitely there, definitely involved. And we would rehearse, like we would do, let's say we would do Arsenio. Well, we would rehearse one song for like 8 hours.
Wow.
And that's it, but that's how it was back then, to perfect it, and we would rehearse that one song, of course, getting a break here and there, but I'm saying the rehearsal time was like 8 hours. Like,
wow.
it was intense,
My
because
goodness.
once you go on television and it's live, if you mess up, you just mess up.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot went into, performing back then. A lot. Yeah. It was intense.
What was the big song that you had with Tracy that you performed on Arsenio? Was it Feel the Pain?
Well, we were on Arsenio a couple of times, but I know the songs that we did was her first single, which was Save Your Love.
Mm.
And then I think her biggest single was a song called This House. And then the third single that we performed at a different time was called Love Me.
Okay.
Yes.
How long did you tour with Tracy?
For a couple of years. Her first album. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of years. And then I, eventually went on to start playing with other artists,
Okay, but how does that end? So you're touring with Tracy, you're promoting the first album. How does it? Does she just say, okay, that's it? I'm going to record a second album, so you guys, I don't need you guys anymore. What happens?
It's kind of like it just all depends. Like, some musicians they stay with the artist, throughout their career. Me, I was always trying to venture off to bigger and better situations for myself. So once she went on to record her second or third album, I was already getting calls from other artists to play for them. So I eventually moved on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who did you move to?
I think after Tracy, I think I went to a group back then called Portrait.
Oh, here we go again. Okay.
Yes, I played for Portrait.
I thought they were the
And,
musicians themselves.
one of them, well, yeah, they all play, but the main producer in the group was Michael.
Okay.
Yeah. But so I played for Portrait, and I was in their band, and we went on tour. And I also played for Shantae Moore.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Portrait, are they from the California?
Yes.
Of
Well, a couple
oh,
of them are from different areas back east, but yeah, they eventually all moved to California.
okay. I mean, how was it with? Because I know they had that "Here We Go Again," but how was it playing with them? Because they felt like a sort of a live band. I mean, how was it like playing with them?
It was fun because actually I was on tour. They were on tour. It was Portrait and Shantae Moore together on tour, and I played
Okay.
for both of them at that time.
Was Shantae still with Jay King's label and stuff?
No, she was with
Oh,
Silas.
Silas. Okay, but
Yes,
okay. So Jay King was no longer managing her at that time.
as far as I know. No.
Okay, so I thought the connection might have been the fact that he was from Sacramento. Okay, so that time she was with Silas, and so when you guys went on tour, it was um it was just who was the main headliner, Shantae or Portrait?
Shantae was headlining. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Portrait was opening for her. Yeah.
Did you then play with both of them, or did you just?
Yes.
Oh, how does that work?
Yeah.
So,
Like I played twice a night. At the whatever venue that we were at. So I played twice. Yeah.
so is it one of those things where you're the tour musician, so they don't so Chante doesn't have her own band and Porter doesn't have their own band. It's just like, okay, we're going on tour, here are the musicians, and the artists just sort of use you guys throughout, or how was the setup back then?
It was set up where, again, they were on tour together. So I was just the selected drummer to play for both.
Okay.
Yes.
But it wasn't the case with the rest of the keyboard player and the guitar. They may just to work with one group.
No, a couple of us did. It was a mixture. A couple of us played with both, but not everybody.
Okay.
But I was selected, to be one of those. Yeah.
Okay. And then after the tour, what did you end up doing?
Actually, I came home and I was called to come to the studio to play for DJ Quick.
Okay, so when you say come home, so where's home there at that time? You said
Home
Los
was
Angeles?
yes, home was Los Angeles. And
Okay.
and a friend of mine named Robert Bacon, he played with me on Tracy Spencer's tour and
Mm.
the television stuff. So he called me to the studio to play on a record for DJ Quick. And we actually did Arsenio. So I did Arsenio again with DJ Quick. And then from there, we went into the studio and I played on various various songs on his third album that he was doing at the time.
Okay.
Yes. So that's when I went from a musician and I started producing.
So how did it work though? Because I would have thought that they would have used MPCs and programming and not really need a live drummer. So how did Quick say why he wanted to get some a drummer to come in?
Well, because Quick himself, he's always been a fan of live music.
Okay.
Even though he's a rapper and a musician, but he loves live music. And he was actually the first rapper back then to have a band, on television, and to even have a band on tour. He was the first. So he took the chance, and it actually worked. Yeah.
Oh, was that third album the one with El DeBarge on? Or
No. The third album was it was called Safe and Sound. Yeah, the El DeBarge one, I believe that was maybe the fifth or sixth album.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, why did you agree to stop touring to go in with Quick? What made you feel convinced that this may be worthwhile?
Well, because once I got a taste of the studio, that was my first time ever really being in a studio like that. And once I got a taste of it, it was like another level. It was another world, And I was like, man, like I like this. Like, this is different, And so, Quick actually introduced me to production, to producing. And once I got a taste of it, like it changed my world.
Okay, what did he do? How did he get you convinced to try it?
Well, because I started playing, like I played on a couple of records, and on his third album, and then I remember we were doing a song, and he needed vocals, somebody to sing. And a lot of people back then didn't know that I also can, that I can sing.
Oh.
I'm not like a lead singer, but I can sing background parts and harmonies and that sort of deal. So I took a stab at it and it worked. So from then, it went from singing to me coming up with an idea on this other record that he was working on as far as the musical parts. And from there,
what record was that?
It was well, the title was kind of
okay. That's fine. So what did you do to the track what did you? What was the concept you brought out?
I came up with the bass line.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was actually two records, but one of them, it was a record that was called Dollars and Cents.
Okay.
And the way that Quick used to come up with ideas back then is he would program the drums, and even if we were at the studio or even at his house, because he had a studio at his house too. So he would program the drums and just let the drums play all day. And so he'll be cooking or going up and down, and would come up with an idea. So I started messing around with the keyboard, and I came up with the bass line for for the first part of Dollars and Cents, and he came running down the stairs. And he said, "That's it." And from then, it's like we just started gelling, and we became like partners. So he asked me to be a part of the project, and then that's where I became very, very influential in that album, in the Safe and Sound album.
Okay. Now,
yeah, so
Did you miss when you were doing that? Did you not think, man, I need to be back on the road and I'm missing out on some real money touring? Because it must have been at least some guaranteed income when you're on the road touring.
No, because actually the production money was way bigger than the road money.
Oh,
Yeah, because being a producer, the production money came from the label, so it came out of the budget. Being on the road back then, we were probably getting maybe, I mean, if I'm correct, maybe like $500 a night a show, something like that.
okay.
If that, but the producer money was way bigger. That changed my life.
Wow. But then at that time, then, because who goes through the details of, okay, you're doing you're working on an album, and so the figures, the money, the ownership, royalty, how does that all get sorted out?
We actually did everything as we were going along, because there were other people involved. So like if I did like half of the music, or produce vocals and all that, some records I got 50%, some records I got 30%. It just all depends on what my input was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, because most of the artists that are even sometimes the producers that I interview, they come into the industry green, so they know the music side, but the business side, that becomes almost like an afterthought because you're just caught in the moment. The actual business side of things, did you know much about it before you got in, and did you have an opportunity to learn before you signed up?
No, I was green to the business side of it, but Quick made sure that everything was fair and everything was across the board. So I had to learn fast, but but lucky for me, he played fair. So he wasn't trying to cheat nobody, and
Okay.
everything was in black and white. So I had to learn overnight, but I was lucky. There was a lot of cats back then that was getting raped, if you will. But I was lucky in that regard.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely.
Snoop talks about not getting even all the songs he wrote, signed to Death Row. He didn't get any. It wasn't in his name, so he didn't own the publishing. So that's why I just wondered if people like that were getting, on the West Side, whether you were fortunate to get to know publishing and splits and royalties and all that stuff.
Yes, I learned. Yes, I learned all that from my experience with Quick, just in that that time period of doing that album. Like, it was like a crash course, but I learned. But I learned fast, and from there, I just started producing. I kind of hung up playing drums, and I didn't go back on the road. Actually, I did go back on the road. I'll take that back. I went on the road because I went on the road with Brandy, the
Oh.
artist Brandy, and I was the MD, the musical
Oh,
director.
okay.
Yes. So, but I went on the road just to kind of whip the band in shape, and to get everything started, and then
Mm.
I hired another drummer, and I came back home because actually at that time I was producing with Quick, and then we had ventured off and started doing stuff with Death Row.
Oh.
So I was out on the road with Brandy, and I'll never forget. I was in the hotel, and the hotel phone rang, and so when I answered the phone, it was Suge. It was yeah, and I'm like, Suge was like, what are you doing out there on the road? I'm like, I'm out here with Brandy. And I'm like, how'd you find out? How'd you find me? He said, don't worry about that. So I'm like, how does this dude know where I'm at? Like, right. So he said, look, man, we have work to do. I need you to come back home. And I'm like, all right. So I substituted another drummer and came back home, and we were working on the death row stuff. And that's a whole nother venture. That's a whole nother, man, Jesus Christ. That's a whole nother conversation, man.
No, okay. I mean, I guess firstly though, we'll go back to that. But with Brandy, how did you get selected to work with Brandy?
There's a friend of mine, a producer. His name is Kenneth Crouch, and him and his brother Keith Crouch, they actually did Brandy's album.
Oh, was this the first one?
Yes, I believe. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was I Want to Be Down.
I Want to Be Down. Okay.
Yes. So they asked me to put the band together and to go out on the road with her and all that. So I did it. But
then at that time, did you realize how big she was? I mean, was the album blowing up and you thought, okay, actually, it's not a bad album. It'd be good to support it?
Yes. No, I mean, she like Brandy really like came out, and Brandy was huge. That first album was huge. Yeah.
And okay, so I mean, how was she at the early days, just being this little kid performing? I mean, because you've already had Portrait, Tracy Spencer, Shantae Moore, and you had this little kid Brandy performing. Was she how different was she on the road and on tour?
She was just a teenage kid, man. I believe Brandy was like 16.
Okay.
But she was just a teenage kid, happy, bubbly, excited. It was all because it was all new for her.
Yeah.
At that time. So, it was, no problems ever, just a sweet kid, and easy to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her mom was her manager. So her mom was out there on the road with her.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was easy. It was definitely easy, and it was fun, for her. And, for me, I was kind of over it as far as being on the road and traveling, because, you spend a lot of time on these tour buses and, going from state to state. And, at that point I was kind of over it,
So if you hadn't done some of the work with Quick earlier on, would you have had a very different attitude towards being on tour with her?
Yes, because once I got a taste of producing, I was addicted. Like I wanted it.
Okay.
So it was kind of like it almost felt like I was going backwards.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't need to be out here on the road. I need to be in the studio.
Okay. So if we go back to when you got the phone call from Suge, at that time, how did he know you? Because did you do any work with him or his Death Row before you went on the road with Brandy?
Yes. Quick actually took me over there with him because Suge had this artist named Danny Boy.
Oh yeah, Danny Boy, yeah.
Yes. And so Quick and I were known for doing R&B as well. So Danny Boy, they brought Danny Boy to us, and we started working on music for Danny Boy. And once we did that, then that's when we were assigned to do other artists over there, like this artist named Jewel.
Oh yeah, Jewel Sad. Yeah, she just passed away. Yeah.
Yes, not too long ago. Yes. So we started doing that, and then that just rolled over into we were on like the Murder Was a Case soundtrack. We were on various albums over there, and again, we did a lot of songs over there. Some of the songs made certain albums, and others, just they still have. But we did a lot of work over there. And then Quick did a couple of records on Tupac, and we would just all trading off doing music. And again, getting back to my experience as far as bad business, like what Snoop was talking about, that was the only thing, is that we were getting paid but we weren't getting our publishing, the back end.
But
So
you guys knew going in you'd known about the business well enough to know about stuff like that by that time when you were on death row.
No, we kind of got introduced to it in a weird kind of way. At least I did. So because the way it works is that, you know, you get called to do a record, and you know, you get your upfront money. You know, your upfront, you know, production money, you know, whatever it is. And back then, I used to call Suge the $10,000 man, because for every record that I did, he gave me $10,000. Right?
Okay.
But normally, once the album is done, or, you know, close to being done, that's when you get your contract, as far as, you know, your percentages, the publishing, and what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, none of that was coming. But, you know, I think the trick was, you know, he was keeping us busy to where we weren't really worried about that. You know, so, you know, we were in the studio all the time, and, you know, whenever I would call for my check, you know, the check was always there, you know, for $10,000. But after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, you know, Murder Was a Case, like it's platinum. It sold over 1 million copies. Like, what's up with the back end? And then that's when, you know, I just kind of put 2 and 2 together. It was like, okay, this is one of those type deals. You know, he's keeping all the publishing.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how he was. Yeah, that's why, you know, he made all that money, you know, because he was keeping all the publishing.
I mean, you know, most of us who, you know, he had this big aura and miss of fear. Were you guys, I mean, for you personally, I mean, knowing him working in the environment, were you intimidated and fearful of dealing with him?
No, because I never put myself in harm's way of that side of his business. You know, I didn't get too involved with the, you know, with the extracurricular activities, if you will. I came to work and I took my ass home. Yeah, you know, I didn't want to, you know, I didn't get too involved. You know, to me, where I come from in Sacramento, you know, our mentality is kind of like, it's a chess game. It's not checkers. And, you know, we had to, you know, we were taught to be very observant of your surroundings. You know, don't get too involved with the, you know, with the extra stuff, because it can cost you. And I was just raised that way. So to me, it was like playing chess. Excuse me. I didn't get too involved. So, you know, those who did always got caught up. They got caught up in, you know, in the, you know, whatever it was, the mess, the fighting, the, you know, the getting slapped, and it was crazy. Yeah.
I mean, what studio were you using when you were doing the work for the artists?
We worked out of 2 studios. We worked out of the studio that me and Quick worked out of a lot. It was called Skip Sailors, but the Death Row studio was called Can-Am.
Okay.
So we would go back and forth. You know, we would be at Can-Am sometimes, and then if Can-Am was booked, then we would go to Skip's. Yeah, the Skip Sailors.
And at that time, who were the other producers for Death Row? Because by this time was Dre, had he left?
Dre was there.
Oh, he was still there by the time you were there.
Yes, Dre was still there, because Dre did California Love for Tupac when Tupac got out of jail.
Okay, so you were there by that time.
Yes, I was there. Actually before that, yes. So it was Dre. Dre was the main producer, and then there was Daz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was Daz Dillinger, Quick, myself. It was a few of them. LT Hutton. It was a few of us over there. You know.
Okay, and so I mean, who was? I mean, how was it like? Did you do anything? You said you did a few joints with Tupac.
Actually, no. Quick worked on the Tupac album. I was doing Jewel at the time.
Okay.
Yes. So we were bouncing around. Like I said, it was kind of like, we were working on multiple projects over there because everybody was working at the same time. Even the artists, yeah, everybody was, Death Row was like a full machine where, there was really no downtime. Like the artist was working 24/7. Yeah.
Wow. So, I guess they were putting out a lot of music, but for yourself, how was it like for yourself being in that environment where they were just, I think they were the biggest label at that time, putting out, everything was going platinum, double platinum. What was it like just working behind the scenes? Did you always think, okay, we get our 10,000, no back end, but what was it like?
But it was still, it was still one of the most, outside of the negativity sometimes, it was one of the most fun times that I've ever had. Because, again, we were, to be a part of a label that big at the time, you felt like you were on top of the world.
Wow.
I mean, just from just being associated and, and the perks that came with it, I mean, it wasn't all bad.
What are the perks? Well, what are the perks?
Well, everybody knew that we were a part of it. So, everywhere we went, we got, whatever we wanted. We got a lot of stuff for free. You got to, it was, yeah, like it wasn't all bad. Like people paint, like people paint it out to be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
Hold on a second.
At the time when Dre left, were you around?
Yes. Yes, I was.
What was it like then for you guys when Dre, who's the big, is leaving in the midst of that? How did it feel at the time for you?
It felt like the beginning of the end. Like when Dre left, it was kind of like our captain left. Like Dre wasn't our boss, but Dre was kind of like the blueprint. You know what I'm saying, to Death Row. So it felt like the beginning of the end, like the magic was gone.
Wow.
For me, not that we couldn't pull it off ourselves, but we walked into a machine that had magic already. And we just contributed, to that magic. And once Dre left, it really kind of opened up the doors. I mean, it kind of opened up my eyes to seeing that, okay, this is not good. This is not going to, end well,
You could see then?
Yes. Yeah, because like I said, Dre was the co-captain. Dre was like the magic over there at that time. And, he wasn't really involved as far as, telling us what to do and what type of music to produce, but we kind of followed his blueprint. So once he left, him leaving kind of exposed the bad.
Oh, wow.
So it just made it kind of like, okay, I mean, I don't want his responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Because it was, we knew the other side of it, and Dre was responsible basically for the music in its entirety. And I didn't want that responsibility, because of everything that came with it.
Yeah, but I would have thought that as he left, it was a case where they'd be more, he would rely on Suge would rely on you guys more to make the music. So with Dre out the picture, it's like, okay, then we've got more money, more music and stuff.
Yeah, well, that was actually the case. Like, Suge wasn't stopping, So yeah, of course, other producers, came in and everybody was trying to do what Dre did, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Dre was the centerpiece. He was the magic. Suge, Suge had the, the money and the power, but, without music, the label is nothing. Without that magic, without that music, the label is nothing. And so, that's when I started to back away, after Dre left, because soon after that, Suge got in trouble. Suge went to prison. And then once Suge went to prison, it was like it was other people over there trying to fill those shoes. And Suge was trying to run a label from prison.
Goodness.
And so it was, for me, it was just chaotic. It didn't make sense. It wasn't the same energy. And I'm the type of person, once, that type of energy is brought into the room, that's not what I'm about. So I just slowly but surely backed away.
Wow. But then, as I said, and as from an outside, I'm thinking, you've got Death Row that's making hundreds of millions. You've got the number one artist around. This is what, your producer. So your producer just, well, I'll just make the music. I could be in a different studio, but I'll just keep making the music. But from your point of view, is because of how your upbringing, you just thought that it might be too dangerous just to get too involved, or what was the feeling?
It wasn't necessarily too dangerous. It was just chaotic, where it's kind of like, being a child, and when your parents go out of town for the weekend, you throw a party, you just start wilding out, So that's what it felt like. Like once Suge went away, now everybody is wild and everybody wants to, fill those shoes. Everybody wants to be the CEO. It was just chaotic. It was too chaotic for me.
Okay.
So I didn't feel like that. I didn't see, success at the end of the rainbow. So my whole thing was, I just went on and I started producing other people at that time. So I was already producing other people anyway, I went on to produce R. Kelly. I went on to produce Will Smith.
Okay.
I went on to produce Snoop, because Snoop had left Death Row.
Okay. So I mean, let's go to that then. So you were there when Snoop was with Death Row then, and when he left, did he leave after Dre or before Dre?
He left after.
Okay. So you were still there, but when he left, how did you feel about him leaving? Because
I felt that he made the right decision, because again, the business wasn't right. He was, you got the biggest star in the world at the time, and he's broke. Because he said it numerous of times, in interviews, it's like, yeah, he was broke because, again, Suge was keeping all the money.
Wow.
So yeah, you got the biggest artist in the world, and he has, a house and cars and everything, but everything is in Death Row's name. The house, the cars.
Could none of you do anything? Because you said you didn't get your back end. Couldn't you guys say, "Come on, Suge, what's going on? Where's my stuff?" Or
yeah, I mean, I questioned him about it once, and he just kind of he sugarcoated it, kind of like, oh yeah, we'll get that taken care of, but nothing never happened. We'll get that taken care of, but hey, need you to do another record on Danny Boy. So
it's your 10,000.
Yeah, and go get your $10,000. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so I was actually I was happy when Snoop left. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew that the artist that he was, he definitely deserved, to be compensated, for the work and for what he had achieved in hip hop at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he went on to sign to Master P, and he called me in quick, and we ended up working on that album.
Okay.
With him over there. Yeah.
So the before we move on to that, did you what was it like seeing Pac? Because after Dre left, did Pac become a lot more a focal sort of central figure?
Yes, Pac was considered like the leader, because Pac was working on his album. Dre did California Love, and Dre left right after California Love.
Okay.
And but Pac's album was then produced by everybody else, Daz, Quick, and whoever else, Johnny J, and a few other producers. And then of course soon after the album came out, Pac got killed, but Pac was kind of like the leader at the time, because Pac had, it was two studio rooms and at Can-Am, and Pac had both rooms going at the same time.
Wow.
So he had producers working on a record in one room and producers working on a record in another room, and Pac was literally going back and forth. And Pac would I've never seen Pac write anything down.
Wow.
Pac would listen to the music, and I literally would see Pac rapping like to himself, and then he would go into the booth and just knock it out.
Wow.
I had never seen that. It was incredible. So, yeah, but Pac, the mission was to get Pac's album done at the time, as soon as possible. And unfortunately, he got killed, not too long after that, but yeah.
But what I mean, I think we saw him through the eyes of the media and his persona in the media. But when you do see him in person, when there's no cameras, how would you describe the type of artist and person he was?
The same as you see on TV. Like, he wasn't.
Okay.
he wasn't fake. I mean, he can either be, your best friend, or if he didn't like something, he can be your worst enemy. It's exactly what you see on TV. You see the nice, cool Pac, doing an interview, and then you see the Pac that's either socking or spitting on the photographer. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But he was serious about his work, about the music, and working hard.
Yeah, I think Pac was on a mission. I think Pac had plans, further down the road. I forget how many albums that he has signed to Death Row, but he was definitely on a mission to get those albums done for some reason.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and again, when he came over to Death Row, the whole work ethic and energy changed. Like, he came in there and was like knocking songs out daily. Pac would spend a night at the studio for a couple of days. Yeah, like he was that guy.
But did the other artists then take note and think, oh, we need to up our game? Were they still slouching, or did they?
No. Everybody, he changed the momentum. Yes, everybody had to pick it up. Everybody had to change their whole attitude and energy when it came to to how we were working, because we were also back then. We were not only working, but we was doing a lot of partying too. So yeah. Yes, we worked, but we also partied. But Pac kind of changed, that he kind of changed that flow, and it kind of changed how the work ethic was looked at over there at that time.
Wow. And so I get, were you still producing with Death Row when Suge came back and he got killed?
No, once because Suge went to prison after Pac died.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so you were still then when he got shot, you were still working at Death Row.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
and that was and once he got killed, that was really the end for me. Like, I was done at that point.
I mean, what was it like? As I said, from the inside, because I know you mentioned that you knew your boundaries and you knew your limits as to what to do. But what was the atmosphere like at Death Row once? I mean, someone as energetic and as Pac gets killed, how did it affect the company and for yourself being there?
from what I remember, for myself, I know that when I went to the studio after that, it felt empty. It felt like it was really the end, like, because a lot of tragedies were happening back then. Because not only Pac, but a lot of people that were either working at death row, some of the security guys, and people started ending up dead, and it was a lot. It was a lot of death at that time surrounding death row. So that was really my cue to to exit. It's like, like, this is not what music is, for me. This is not the representation of what music is for me, and it's time for me to bow out.
Did you feel like you might have a target because you were associated to a label that was seen as very hostile to the East Coast?
Always, definitely. We all were targets. Anybody that was affiliated, we all were targets. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. That's why, for me, it was a chess game. You had to always be on your P's and Q's. You had to always, we had security back then. Like, it was a big deal. And because, at the end of the day, you never know what you were walking into, especially going out of town, or, going to these award shows, and, where all, where Bad Boy was showing up, and, these other labels or whatever. And it was real. The tension was real.
Did you go to the Source Awards that day with a big drama?
No.
Okay, okay.
No. We you talking about in New York?
Yeah, the one in New York where okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't go.
Okay.
I changed my mind at the last minute. I didn't go.
Wow. The one thing that, because I lived in LA briefly, well, not briefly, I lived in Redondo Beach, and then Culver City thereafter. So, but I was away from South Central and stuff. Did you have to worry, because you came from the Bay Area, about the tension between the Bloods and the Crips, and because I know Suge was associated with one, and Pac Snoop was associated with the other. So how did you remain neutral, where you're not involved in any of this stuff, and no one should drag you into any of these kind of wars?
Well, again, it was keeping your eyes open, understanding the energy in the room, understanding the energy in the building, understanding the energy around you. And me, I was associated with the Bloods.
Oh.
So again, it was tension. I mean, you can definitely come out and be in a hallway, or run into a Crip or something, and it could definitely be a fight. Like, it was a lot of that over there. But at the same time, I think everybody understood what the common goal was, and that was to make music and to be successful. So it was kind of easy to get along. But every once in a while, if somebody brought a friend up to the studio, or one of the homeboys from the hood, and it can definitely go down. It can definitely be something.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, man, like I said, it was different. It was very, very, yeah.
So
I've never experienced anything like that in my life, man.
So what we're seeing on the news and hearing as fans outside, it was even worse than what we're seeing. We didn't know the half of how challenging it was for you guys.
No, it was. It was, the world seen the good and heard about the bad. Like, we seen the bad. You would hear about the bad, but we were, that part of it was like being at war. Yeah, like it was definitely an experience. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I made it through, and I'm a part of history. But I've never ever experienced anything like that at a record label.
Oh,
yeah.
And the sad thing is that people like Doug Morris and Jimmy Iovine knew what was happening, but they knew that all that publicity was just helping them make more money. So they probably just turned a blind eye.
Yes. Yeah, because at the time, it was like, all the money that they were making, it's like, why rock the boat? That's not their business.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually was good publicity.
Yeah.
It was bad publicity, but it was good publicity because it brought all the attention to the label.
Yeah, everybody feared Death Row. Even if you just were doing a gospel album, everyone was afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine that. Death Row talking about Jesus.
I mean, in person, back in 96, 95, was Suge like a scary giant? Because we see him with a big cigar, but was he physically intimidating? Because everyone just afraid of his name. Just
yeah, I mean, if you knew him, you knew both sides of him, because there's a real nice side to Suge too that a lot of people don't know.
Okay,
but the persona was to carry this image of people fearing him, which it actually worked. And I'm not saying that he was soft, because no, he had that side where he'll slap you, or or he'll hit you, or have you beat up, and but the persona that people seen, it wasn't fake, it was real. And being in his presence, yes, he can be very intimidating, because Suge was what, 330, 340? He was a big guy. And then he had, on top of that, he had guys around him that was damn near his size.
Wow.
Security, the homies that was, 260, 270.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was not just him, it was a whole look, it was an entourage. So when he walked into the room, it's him plus 6, 7, 8 guys.
Wow.
His size.
So
yeah.
you're not the accent for your back end. It's a little hard to keep nagging him for your back end and publishing and stuff.
Exactly. Man, forget that back end. You can keep it.
Okay. But then were you producing solo, or were you and Quick doing co-production, or how did that relationship change then?
Eventually, after Death Row, Quick and I started doing solo stuff around, like we did Tony, Let's Get Down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I got called to do R. Kelly. I did a record on R. Kelly, one of his biggest dance records. It's called Home Alone. It's
with Keith Murray. Was Kelly Price on that?
Yes, and Kelly Price. Yes.
Okay.
So I produced that record, and that was actually my first solo production record.
Now, how is that possible? Because we all would assume that R. Kelly does everything. He was one of the greatest writers and producers. So how do you get called to say, come and do a track for R. Kelly on one of his best albums?
Well, R. Kelly, he liked our style. And at the time, he was managed by a guy named Barry Hankerson.
Yeah, Ali's uncle.
Yes, and Barry, me and Barry had the same attorney.
Okay. Oh, you got your own lawyer and stuff.
Yeah. So my attorney at the time, his name was Jock Shirley, and Jock, my name was mentioned as far as for doing a record. So when my name was mentioned, they took it to R. Kelly, and R. Kelly was like, yeah, because R. Kelly wasn't known for doing club records at the time. He did more ballads.
Yeah.
Then. So I was the first one to give him a club record. So R. Kelly wasn't capable of producing that style.
Yeah. Okay.
He was a balladeer. So I gave him his first club record, and so I did the music, and then Kelly Price wrote Kelly Price and R. Kelly wrote the lyrics.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And then
What came first then? The music or the lyrics or what?
the music.
Okay.
I sent them. I did like 3 different tracks, and he chose one of them. And then they wrote to it, and then Keith Murray happened to be in the studio with them at the time.
Okay.
So Keith heard the track, and then Keith jumped on it, got on it too.
Were you there recording with them, or how does that work?
No, R. Kelly always recorded his own vocals.
Oh.
Yeah, so they recorded it in Chicago, and then they sent it back to me in LA.
But did you get to meet him then?
Yes, I met him. A few times. When he came to LA, we talked over the phone a lot back then. But I met him a few times.
So that's because you're credited as the producer of the track and producing arranger, but it is strange that it's not as if he was out in Taiwan that you couldn't be in the same studio recording. So I know it was East Coast and the Midwest and West Coast. How come there wasn't a sense of, let me come down to Chicago, you come over to LA so we'll work on it together?
Well, because an artist of his status, they don't need me to produce their vocal.
Okay.
If he was a new artist, maybe. I would. Back then, it's like today. It's like, I'll send a record out. You have your own studio, you record it, and you send it back, and then I fix it and mix it. Like, it's that easy.
Okay.
So back then, everything was on reel to reel, on 2-inch tape. So I sent the track to them, they recorded it, and then they had to send me the tapes, the reel to reels.
Okay.
And then I fixed it and did my edits and mixed it, and then I sent it to him, and he liked it, he approved it, changed this, changed that, fixed this, and it was like that.
Now, did you produce it? Did you produce Home Alone by yourself, or did Quick get involved?
No, Quick wasn't involved with that record. Quick was actually working on. Quick actually started his 4th or 5th album, I think, at the time. So he was getting started on that, but I did Home Alone entirely by myself. Yeah,
so you're credited as the sole producer on it, but as we're going, SMS 130 said that Quick said he ghost produced it as uncredited producer on it, but I don't know.
There was a time where Quick felt like the drums that are on that record, Quick actually gave me those drums.
Ah, okay.
And Quick did play. Quick played some percussion on Home Alone on the record, but he didn't produce the record.
Okay.
Yeah, so he came in after the record was done, and he played percussion on it, and a couple of. But I produced it. I wrote it. I came up with the idea. I did the music,
and there was no falling out of it with you guys over it.
No. I mean, Quick and I, we're like brothers. Yeah. So of course, we're going to have disagreements at times, and I may do something, or he may do something where we don't agree with, and we may not talk for a couple of days, but that's my brother.
Okay.
That's my brother for life. So we actually we act like brothers. We love each other. Sometimes we don't like each other, but he can say fuck G1, but nobody else can say
it. Okay. No, it's good. As I said, I didn't realize as we were going live. It's good that somebody brought it up, and and to say and just to clear it up. But the song, I mean, goodness, as I said, it is a bouncing track, and it was different for R. Kelly because it had that sort of West Coast sort of funk and bounce to it. When that went out, when you had Keith Murray on it, did you feel this? Wow, this is a very different vibe as well, because it was East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, all wrapped into one album,
Yeah, I
one
was.
song. Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised because they didn't tell me that Keith Murray had got on it. So I
Okay.
didn't know. I didn't know until they sent it back to me, and I was very surprised because of where we stood at that time with the East Coast and West Coast whole thing.
Goodness.
But it's like Keith Murray. He ended up calling me after that, and I actually did it. I did a record on him. Because Murray really loved that West Coast funk. Like he loved it. And so, Murray wasn't really with the whole, East Coast, West Coast. Murray just loved music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at that time then, because was it that bad with that whole East Coast, West Coast there? You guys could you travel to the East Coast and not have any issues to New York?
I didn't feel comfortable.
Wow.
Because the beef was real. Like it wasn't fake. It wasn't just for television. It was real.
But was it not just Death Row and Bad Boy? But then, or was it all Wu-Tang and anyone that's East Coast and or was it just those two? Because I mean, Quick, was he involved? I didn't think Quick was.
No, we were never really involved to whereas we were personally at war. It was our association to Death Row that had us involved, but we personally were not involved.
Okay.
We didn't. Quick and myself, we didn't have anything against Bad Boy. We didn't have anything against Biggie. We didn't have. Because there was no real reason. It was all it started out fabricated, and then it turned into real. When people
what do you mean
dying.
fabricated?
Just in other words, like there was no real reason why there was a war. Like nobody had got hurt on their side, nobody had got hurt on our side, and it was just it was something that just slowly but surely just kind of fell in our lap, like it just happened.
Do you think it was Park saw it as something, as a way of let's generate publicity and a way of just just like a little rivalry so we can sell records and people can think?
I can say that. Yes, of course. And again, I'm glad that you put it that way, because at the end of the day, that's what I mean. When I said fabricated, where it was kind of a thing to where it's a good publicity tool, to use, but it actually, turned into a real thing. And again, Pac died, and then Biggie died, and that's when it was really real. It was like, this is, all. I mean, man, was it worth it?
No. I mean, especially if they were still the best in if they were around now, I don't think anyone could touch them. But what was it like when Biggie died? Was that scary for you guys associated with Death Row? Especially
not for
yourself.
me. I mean, not for me. Like, I don't think I've ever mentioned this in any interview that I've ever done. But the way that the streets and the gangs and all that, the politics of it is designed. It's like normally, once a death of that magnitude happens, it's almost inevitable that there's going to be some sort of retaliation. And for me, when Pac died, and then Biggie was hanging out in LA, like he was spending like a lot of time here.
Wow. And
Biggie did this record, and the first time that I heard it, I forgot who I was talking to, but I told them, I said, like, that's it, that's the end. He did this record called I'm Going Back to Cali. And in the record, he was talking about being in Cali, and pardon my French, but, smoking our weed, and pardon my French, and fucking our bitches.
Mm.
right? That's a no-no out here. Like, to me, when I heard it, it felt like that he was throwing it in our face. That's just what I felt,
Mm.
when I first heard the record. So coming from the streets, it's like, you playing it kind of close. That's dangerous. That's just what I felt. It was kind of like a diss record to me. That's what it felt like. So that's when I knew. I said, man, this ain't gonna end well, because I understand the politics out here on the West Coast.
Mm.
The East Coast may be different, but I understand the politics out here on the West Coast. And to me, he did a West Coast beat. He named the song "I'm Going Back to Cali," and he was talking about the things that he was doing out here. Like, it was kind of like, fuck y'all. Like I'm untouchable. That's what it felt like, to me. And lo and behold, shortly after that, he got killed.
Yeah.
Out here.
So yeah, and I guess it does seem strange that he would and as I said, Bad Boy was not a rap label. It was a sort of R&B stuff, and they, from what we know, Puffy didn't come from the streets, so so I don't know the why they would be that bold and not feel, especially after Pac died, and not be very cautious and careful with what they're doing, or try and smooth things over, because it just means that it's like, yeah, it was a bad thing. But then there was, and I have no idea. I didn't realize that there was. I just thought he was in LA to finish some recording stuff. I didn't realize they were almost saying, we're untouchables. We can do what we want out here. Was Suge wasn't around.
After Pac died, Suge went to prison. I can't remember like the exact timeline, but
he was in prison when Biggie died.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but again, it's like being out here. Big was out here. He was out here recording. He was out here working, but he was also, again, to put out a record like that and to be in California is bold.
Wow.
To spend weeks and months at a time out here, and you talking about the things that you're doing to our women, and you smoking up our weed, that was bold.
And the beef was still at this peak at that time as well.
Of course, because it was tension, because Pac had died. We basically, the West Coast lost one of its leaders, one of its pioneers.
But you didn't think Biggie? I mean, you didn't think they were responsible? I mean, as of just being neutral.
Me personally, I didn't.
Okay.
Because I didn't think that they weren't built like that. To me, Bad Boy wasn't like a real gangster label to me. So to me, they weren't built like that. They weren't real gangsters, not to me.
Yeah.
So I never once even thought that they did it. Could they have orchestrated it? Maybe, I don't know. But them, themselves, nah, they weren't built like that.
Wow. And so you weren't surprised when he got shot, but then the day it happened, that must have been a surprise. A shock, or it was like, yeah, this guy was living too dangerously. Or
you talking about Biggie?
Yeah. I still remember I was in college when he died. It was a big shock for me. But for yourself, after
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all, because of again, the politics of the West Coast. I mean, that's kind of like that's what what the life is. When it comes to let's just say Bloods and Crips. If you kill a Crip, they're going to retaliate.
Wow.
That's just the nature of the game. You know what I'm saying? That's the nature of the game and the politics out here. So back then, I wasn't surprised. I was actually at the I think it was the Vibe Awards or something. I think it was Vibe. And where Biggie got killed. No, I was there. Yeah,
I think it was Soul Train. Maybe it was Soul Train, I think.
Yeah. It was either Vibe or Soul Train, but
okay.
Yeah, but our limousine was actually parked behind their trucks at that time. Yeah, so out in front of the venue. Yeah, I was there.
Oh, but you didn't witness it. You would.
No,
Okay.
no, because they had took off. They had left. But I'm saying, like, I remember that night. I remember seeing them coming out. Getting into their trucks. I was there.
What did that incident do to you personally? Did you decide? Did it make any? Did it change where you went, what you did, the direction of your music, or what have impacted? Within 6 months, you've got two of the biggest stars, hip hop stars, being shut down, and on the West Coast. What did it change? Did it have an impact on you as an artist, as a person, and what you were doing?
To be honest, no, it didn't, because there's always been, I guess, being from the West Coast, there was always a sense of empowerment and security, when you're at home. And again, I never looked at, the East Coast or Bad Boy as being people of that magnitude when it came to being gangsters and to have to fear, for my life. So when that happened, I felt like really that the chapter was closed in its entirety. The East Coast, West Coast beef was done. And that we had a choice then to turn music back around to being good and to just start doing good music again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, you know what? Okay, Pac is dead. Biggie is dead. Let the dust settle, and let's get back to just doing a positive, good music. The war's over. Sugar's in prison, like it's over. That's just what it felt like to me.
So what did you it was at this time that you went to do some stuff with Snoop on No Limit, or what did you what did you move on to after you did the R. Kelly stuff?
Snoop, like I said, Snoop at No Limit, did more stuff with Raphael Sadiq, did Will Smith.
Okay, what did you do for Will?
I did a record on it was called Could You Love Me, on Will Smith's what album was that?
Was that Big Willie style, his big?
I can't remember the name of the album.
Because that came out in 97. That came out in 97.
Yeah, the plaque is here on the wall, but
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I did Could You Love Me, and I did another record. I did 2 records on Will. On Will Smith. Yeah.
What was it like working with Snoop when he's on No Limits? That whole in that environment, and how was he? He's now making a little bit more money. What was it like? Did you notice a difference with Snoop when you worked with him on that No Limit album?
A big difference. He was, real easy. Easy to work with. He had gotten his money, so he was happy. And he was the same Snoop, but just more free. But no tension. Like I seen the growth in him at the time. Like it was good to see, my brother like that. To see him happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it was very interesting because he had the album split between Beats by the Pound doing some production, and he got you guys, Sugar Free and even Dre. So it was a very I won't say strange album, but it was a very, he had to have his No Limit sound. He had to have his West Coast sound. What did you think about the album?
Well, of course, back then, we all had, anybody that was, successful in any form kind of had their own ego. And I was a firm believer that the West Coast had the best sound, regardless. So I think the album was good, but it just to me it didn't really fit who he really was in its entirety. To me,
Yeah.
I mean, it worked. He was able to turn his career around and to go on to bigger and better things, but just overall, to me, it wasn't his sound.
Yeah, it was hard.
To me,
yeah, go ahead.
To me, he contributed to their sound, but it wasn't really his sound.
Yeah, because it was hard, because once you're No Limit, there was an expectation that we needed to hear No Limit and that type of, southern sort of energy that they bring. But Snoop was always a very mellow sort of rapper, so he needed something that slows it down so he can use that. But he was caught in between the two.
Yeah.
At the time then, when Dre went off to do Aftermath, were you still with Death Row, and was Dre then becoming an enemy when he left everything? I mean, and people couldn't understand why he would just leave $100 million business, and Suge kept saying it, and then just say, look, I'm just going to start afresh. Did that surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise me, because Dre wasn't really with the nonsense. Dre wasn't really with the extracurricular activities, people getting beat up and gangster stuff that was going on. He wasn't really with that, and Dre, coming off of the deal with Easy, and then walking into pretty much the same deal with more drama.
Yeah.
On top of that, that's not who Dre is. So that's why he walked away, because it was too much. Too much of the bad was outweighing the good. So it was the thing to where, Dre just wanted to make music.
Mm.
You don't want to see nobody getting beat up for nothing, or people fighting, and grown men fighting in the hall. Like, nah, man.
Okay.
Nah, he.
But then, as a producer, who got in through Quick recently mentioned that he got frustrated that he doesn't get the same recognition and accolade as Dr. Dre, even though he loves Dre as a brother and everything, but there's a sense that he doesn't get recognized for his music contribution to West Coast, or even just hip hop music in general. Being part of camp with Quick, was there ever a sense of, did you guys not see Dre as well? He's just on another level, or was there a sense where, well, production wise, we're doing almost the same type of thing?
I've always. Some people may think, because of who I am in Quick's life, that I'm only saying this because he's my brother, but fact is, just me knowing both,
Mm-hmm.
Quick is, in my opinion, more talented than Dre. Quick plays instruments. Quick produces records from scratch. And to me, Dre just has always had a bigger machine behind him, and which made him into the person that he was. And I'm not saying that Dre is not a good producer, because he definitely is one of the best. But there's elements when it comes to producing that a lot of people don't understand from the outside looking in. Some of us producers, like, we really do play instruments. And then there's another way of producing where you bring in other people and they come up with the ideas, and then you just capitalize on it, mix it, and put your name on it.
Mm.
Like when Dre had, when he had Scott Storch.
Yeah.
For years, and people didn't know. He had Scott Storch. Scott Storch was doing all the music, and Dre's putting his name on it. And I'm not dissing Dre, again, but that's actually producing still. That's another way of producing. Just because you can't physically play something if you can bring it out of somebody else, or you could tell them what to play, that's still producing.
Yeah, Quincy Jones. Yeah, like something
Yeah,
like yeah.
exactly. That's another example, Quincy Jones. But Quick just happens to actually really play.
Wow.
Quick
I didn't realize.
he rarely needs other musicians to come in and to, contribute. Rarely. That's the difference. So, to me, personally, that makes him an overall better producer to me. And that's just my opinion. Others may, others may think differently, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, when you think of the fact that you and Quick have worked with Tony, Raphael Sadiq, and when people think about musicians and sort of soul music, Raphael seems to be, because Raphael then goes and lends his talents to D'Angelo and Angie Stone. So there is a sense of, wow, you guys are musicians kind of, and funk, and you can go and move from hip hop to soul and R&B. I mean, you gave Tony that, Let's Get Down, massive track. So I do wonder if the sound that you guys came up with, I think the Sugar-Free part of the camp, or because you guys seem to have the same type of vibe.
You said, is he?
Yeah, is he part of? Was he part of your? Because he did the sounds, the production sound sounded that kind of funk live.
Yeah, we did. We did Sugar-Free.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sugar-Free was he was signed to Laneway, and which is was Black Tone's label, and Black Tone is from Compton. That's Quick's big brother, so to speak.
Okay, so that's why that's okay.
So we did Sugar-Free's music. We did the whole first album, Street Gospel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you stay ready and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so as I said, you said you worked with Raphael Sadiq. Then what's it like working with him as a musician himself and stuff?
It's actually easy because when you got talented musicians in one room, and and once again, one of us will come up with a bass line, or come up with the bass line to start the record, and then the other one would jump in, and like for instance, when we did Let's Get Down, it was me, Quick, and Raphael in the studio, and we came up with the bass line, because there's two bass lines on that record. So I came up with one, and Quick came up with the other one.
Okay.
And then Raphael just grabbed his guitar and he started playing. And like the idea was literally done in less than 30 minutes. The idea. Yeah. So once the idea was done, Raphael knew that that Quick and I was going to finish it. So Raphael got up and he said, "All right, man." He said, "I'm gone." And we're like, "What?" I said, what do you mean you're gone? He said, "Man, you guys just wrote me a hit record. I'm gonna go buy me a Porsche." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he left, and then Quick and I, we finished the record, and then Raphael wrote the lyrics, and that was it.
Yeah, but what about his brother and the rest of the group?
I think then on that album, they each were assigned to do X amount of records. So they were doing records separately. That's why Dwayne got his own records on there, and Raphael got his own records on that album.
Yeah. I heard Raphael in an interview saying that there was tensions were high, and so they had to hit. So Dwayne and Tim recorded separately, but if they had known what you guys did with him, they would have got more songs, because he did think he was going to get more songs from you guys, but it was just the way they were at the time. They weren't in a good place.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Raphael was actually my friend. He was a personal friend of mine back then. So I knew Dwayne and Tim, but I was close to Ray. I was close to Raphael.
Oh, so, I mean, because of being from the North California, or
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so Raphael actually was the one that called me.
Oh.
And yeah, that called for me and quick. So, and it just came together, man. It came together fast. Like, and we did a hit. And like I said, we did a hit record, man, and shit, like less than 30 minutes. It was, the idea was done.
At this time, are you thinking, do I need to go back on the road and start drumming? Or were you like, man, this producer stuff is so much fun and more money and less hassle. You can go back home and sleep in your own bed after.
You mean then?
Well, in the midst of all this stuff, were you thinking, man, I'm glad I'm not on the road, and thank God.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely, man. No, I love the studio, back then. Like that was my go-to. And I was telling myself I would never go back on the road. I would never, yeah, I would never go back on the road.
I mean, when I interviewed DOA, he was saying the same thing, that he just got into the studio, just as a hobby, and he thought about writing a song for Bobby, and he didn't realize that from just writing stuff that he could go record it, and he didn't realize the shift between being a session musician on concert and then being in a studio where the money is guaranteed, is upfront, and there's less, I won't say less work, but it's it doesn't take as much out of you. For yourself, did you then did you try and convince any of your other band friends about, why don't you become producers? Or did you just, how was it like? Because at that time when you're seeing the success?
No, I kept in touch with a lot of musicians, and believe it or not, some musicians, like, they love it. Like they
Being
weren't
on the
really
road.
Yes, they love playing live. They love being on the road. It just, for me personally, it was, it takes a toll on your body, all the traveling and doing an hour show every night, and it's a lot. Versus just being home in your own element. You go to the studio, create. You get paid way more money. Yeah. And yeah. And like you said, and you go home and get in your bed, man. Yeah.
You did some work with Genuine.
Yeah, I did a remix on Genuine's first, was it first or second album? I did a remix to I'll Do Anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a club version of that record.
Okay.
Yeah,
and what about
it's on YouTube. It's the remix.
Okay. And what about Adina Howard?
Yeah, Quick and I, we did a record on Adina Howard. It was called Freaking You Know It.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was on her second album, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah. How was it like working with her? I mean, after the success of a massive hit, and was she also one of those who the persona of her videos are different from when she's in person?
Not at all. Not at all. There's absolutely nothing fake about Adina. Adina, what you've seen is exactly what you get. Nice, very nice girl, very nice girl, but had no problem at all with, with her, her sexual identity, if you will. But, very talented artist, but, she really lived what she sang about.
Wow.
Yeah. Like it was nothing fake. Like that wasn't the character. Like Dina was real. Yeah.
No, we saw her on Song, and she said she's addicted and stuff. But
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. She said it first.
Yeah, she did. She did.
Yeah. I'm just repeating it. Yeah.
But I mean, most people would be surprised that you did work with Shaq.
Yeah. Quick and I, we did one of Shaq's biggest records. What was it called? Straight Playing. Yeah.
Did it seem like as I said, Shaq, an NBA player, did it feel as if, okay, this is like a novelty stuff like Deion Sanders, must be the money? Yeah.
You know what? At first, when we got the call, of course, that was the first thing that I thought. Just another athlete that can do what he wants. If you want to rap, of course, you. But once I heard him, once we got into the studio and I was like, wow, like this dude really can rap.
Oh,
Like this, this ain't a gimmick. Like this dude can rap.
okay.
Yeah. So like he really surprised me. I was like, wow. And then that's what I took it more serious.
Okay.
Because at first, of course, back then it was just about us all being celebrities, and it's kind of like, and it was about the money.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Shaq. Shaq came to LA. He was one of us now. He was playing for the Lakers. And
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Yep. Yeah. So but I mean, he surprised me, man. Like I'm like, wow, this dude can really rap.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he did the movie that wasn't great, Shazam, but something like that. Was it? Can't remember what it was, but yeah, the album didn't do too bad, and he also featured on Michael Jackson's History album. So he did have some skills in there.
Yeah.
When you think back at your stuff at that time, because I did remember that you did stuff with BBD back in I think it was their last album that came out in 2017 or so.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. I did a record for them. It's called it was called Find a Way.
Okay.
And actually, what's crazy is that I also did a record that's called Find a Way on this artist named Dwele.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and that was back in 2000. I'm gonna say 2003, 2004. But the record that I did on BBD is called Find a Way, and Ricky Bell. Ricky is a good friend of mine. So Rick called me because they have been saying that that they wanted to work with me over the years. So when this opportunity came, Rick called me and asked me for a record. So when I sent the record over to him, they loved the record. So once we cut the record, we did the record. I mixed it and I turned it in, and then the label heard it, and the label asked them, how come the rest of the records don't sound like this record? So from there, I get a phone call from Rick and the guys, and they were asking me to fix and mix other records the other producers had did on that album.
Wow.
Yes, so I did that. So I'm a part of, I believe, maybe 6 records on that album.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, because they love the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll go back and listen to it. I did buy the album and I did like it. Unfortunately, it didn't get, I won't say it didn't get promoted, but I think the industry has changed so much that songs have to go viral and you don't sell CDs. So it's really hard to judge success unless, and it was pre-TikTok. So it's a really different ballgame to make music. I mean, since then, I mean, what's been the anything recently that you've worked on, or what's it like being a producer now, where the industry and labels aren't are sort of somewhat selective with Black music and stuff? What is it that you've been doing since?
Really, just more so now developing my brand, because it's these days it's more than just producing. It's more than just doing music. Anything associated with music these days really has to have a purpose behind it. Like, it has to be more than just music. Like I'm doing a host of independent artists, of course. And I did a couple of records on Corrupt.
Okay.
Yeah, Corrupt is working on a project. I'm doing a lot of stuff outside of music too. That's still related, but it's really more brand related. You know, um, and then I've gotten into like, the whole crypto and Bitcoin and all that other stuff. I'm doing a host of things, these days, man.
So I mean, so financially you're settled with all your investments and stuff, but the music side, is it because if we reflect back to your days of Death Row, where you were inundated with just going into the studio, do you miss? I mean, not the hostile environment of Death Row, but do you miss those days of just working and creating music and just having and seeing it out on the radio and stuff? Or are you in a better place now?
No, I do. I miss the simplicity of the format that worked. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I do miss, you put the work in, you create these magical records, and they go through the machine, and the world gets to enjoy, the fruits of your labor. The world gets to enjoy, gets to share your music with you. It was simple. And it's not like that no more. Like you can't, we used to be able to just walk a record into radio. You can't do that no more.
Yeah.
It's just the whole politics of the music business has taken over music and its talent. It's not the same, and that, to me, that's when it's not fun no more. So when it's not fun, for me, I just kind of, I take a back seat, when it comes to certain things. Like I'm just kind of like,
So is it that you don't necessarily need to? I won't say you don't need to work, but is it that if you have the opportunity to make records, you can, but it's not something that it's not stuff that you almost need to be working just to make it by? I mean, what's the situation like when it comes to, as a producer who was very busy back in the 90s and early 2000s? Is it at a point where you do it out of fun now, or is?
Yeah, because, God blessed me to where, I put in a lot of work, and, I've sold a lot of records throughout my career. So I'm pretty much, I still get my publishing and, and
apart from Death Row,
outside of Death Row, but, I still get my royalties, and God has blessed me to where, I can pretty much live off my royalties if I wanted to, so it does, allow me the freedom to explore.
Okay.
And to really understand what my purpose is in the next, in the second half of my life. So I've been awarded that, and I thank God for that. But again, I'm still producing, but anything that I do, it has to have a purpose attached to it. I don't get up and go to the studio every day like I used to. I don't get up and the first thing I do is to do a beat. I don't do that no more.
But when you say it has to have a purpose, what does that mean?
Like BBD, for example.
Yeah.
So in other words, they're working on an album. They have a machine behind them. They have a label. All the components are in place. But as far as me just doing it, believing in somebody else's dream, and they don't have a purpose, they don't have a label, I'm not doing it.
But you say you're doing stuff for independent artists, though. I mean,
but those most of the independent artists that I do things for, they have distribution.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the new independent game, is most of them go out and they land a distribution deal. So at least I know that the record has a chance to come out.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as me just passing beats out, like these new producers, and I'm not that producer.
Did you ever get into wanting to develop your own artists and stuff?
I did before the industry changed.
Okay.
once the industry changed and the record label started shutting down,
Mm.
and they started merging and shutting down, and you know, the politics got different, it kind of just it turned me off.
Okay.
You know, I didn't want to pursue and put that much time into a person to you know, to not get what I want out of it.
Mm.
You know, it doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, most of us will be listening and thinking, how come yourself and Quick haven't come up with music and just, you know, just making music and making it, putting it on streaming services and stuff?
What do you mean as far as
like yeah, no, I mean, it's you and Quick. I mean, Quick, we haven't heard anything new from Quick in a while. I mean, is he out of the game? Is he just also in that sense of now, let's just
actually, you know, I guess, you know, I can say it now, but I mean, Quick is actually working on an album right now.
Okay.
Yeah, a Quick single is going to be dropping in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, we just shot the video last week, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so
are you still involved with working with him? You still?
Yeah, I did. I worked on a couple of songs with him on that album. I didn't do the entire album. He did like most of it.
Okay.
But like, you know, I played drums on a couple of songs and, you know, just contributed here and there. But he pretty much did it. Like he hasn't put out an album in 10 years.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Wow.
Yeah. So and the single is, man, nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
like,
you
know, it's you know, the single is not your typical Quick that people would think that he, you know, people think that Quick is going to always come with this, like, you know, club funk type record.
Yeah.
This record is like, it's like phenomenal. You know, you'll hear it.
Okay.
You'll hear it. Yeah.
Since he's your brother, you've got to help us get him on the show so we can help promote his stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely, of course, definitely. That's easy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I interviewed El DeBarge.
Okay.
And when I asked El DeBarge, I said, "What was it like working with Quick?" And he says, "Man, that Quick pulled him when he was at his lowest." Because I spent an hour and a half with El DeBarge, and he talked about how he got dropped and how the label he was low in confidence, and he said how Quick just lifted him up, and so and just gave him his mojo back and gave him that hit record, and that's were you around when El was?
Yes, that was when we recorded Hand in Hand with El DeBarge. What
was it like for you seeing El DeBarge? You know, working with you guys, did it seem surreal? Like, this is El DeBarge.
Yeah, because I mean, I was a fan. You know, I mean, you know, who wasn't a fan of DeBarge?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, seeing him and meeting him for the first time, of course, it was almost like seeing Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
like, it was like, you know, back then, like those stars, like those Motown stars, and like like they really look like stars, and their energy and their whole persona in the room was like a glow.
Yeah.
So even though, you know, he says that he was at his lowest, man, we were at our highest. We were like, this L. Like El DeBarge. It's like that's like saying Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he said he gave him his mojo back. In fact, when I released the clip, I think Quick saw it, where he, you know, and was really appreciated of the fact that El remembered him and really sort of lifted him up like that, because it's, you know, he said he was, you know, they stopped him from writing, and they dropped him, and he just didn't have anything. So the fact that, you know, he got brought in and been given that boost and stuff, you know, and I think that's the kind of stuff that's, you know, as you mentioned earlier, that when you got to work with Quick, you saw how Suge sort of treated you guys, and you could see, and many people I've interviewed have said someone like DJ ADF was one guy who made sure that the people who were signed to Untouchables, he taught them the business, said, look, I'm going to, make sure you get your publishing, make sure you get this stuff. And then even when I spoke with KG from Naughty by Nature, he said that, Queen Latifah's mum, they made sure that they explained the business so they can, and in fact, when he started his label, he made sure when he signed Nex and Jaheim, and that he made sure that they got everything, because he didn't get treated badly, so he didn't spread it around. So it is remarkable that you mentioned that Quick was there to be able to make sure that you were fairly, taught you the stuff fairly, because he could have just signed you off like Suge and like Snoop, and you'd be making music, and then 10 years later you start realizing. Why do you think he was upfront and honest?
Because that's really who Quick really is. Like, that's his person. Quick is definitely one of the most, I would say, fair stand-up guys that I've ever worked with. Outside of, of course, my brother DOA, Derek DOA, Allen. But I've been fortunate to have, people like that in my life throughout my career, where it was never a doubt of me getting less than what I deserved, and me not being treated fair when it came to things that I wasn't familiar with. So Quick is definitely one of those guys. That's just the person that he is. He plays fair. He's always played fair.
But that, but as I said, you've seen other people, so that seems to be very rare, especially within that. Yeah,
it is rare. It's very rare. But at the end of the day, when you do good business, good comes back to you.
Yeah.
And that's why Quick has been able to maintain and to be blessed in this industry, because he's always played fair.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And and I'm not throwing Suge under the bus, but look at the result.
Mm.
When you treat people bad comes back to you at some point.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, it's one of those things where you especially within our own Black community, because when I've interviewed artists who were signed directly to a major, they were given the same deals as the white artists. So they had so you start wondering why a white artist can come out and start making $1 million and retire. But with our Black artists, they get everything taken away from them, and we're doing it to ourselves. And it's like, how do you expect a community to survive and grow and be empowered if we're robbing the next generation, and then they have to rob the next generation just to make up for what you stole from them? And now, after all that, our music has been the one that's been sidelined. So country music still thrives like it used to. Pop music and rock music still has its outlet, still thrives. And it's just really urban music, whether it's soul, whether it's a variant of hip hop, that has now been left and marginalized, and yet we're still robbing and stealing from ourselves. So that's always the hard thing, and really the hardest part of my job doing this podcast is hearing the stories of other Black artists talking about how they just got taken, and they didn't know the business until 3 albums later. Did that change how you related to other artists? Did it make a difference to the kind of relationships you had with anyone who was up and coming, or producers who were working for you?
No, I've always treated artists and producers that were working under me exactly the way that I was taught. Because again, Suge and those guys, they were just repeating what they were taught. Because a lot of the Black labels and people in power back then, they were raping a lot of the Black artists, as far as the publishing and all that. And that was the rule of the game back then, But we strive to kind of break that curse.
Mm.
You get what you work for. You get exactly what you work for. And I've always tried to be fair. If you work, you eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you deserve, you deserve your publishing. You got families and kids and all. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you have that mentality, good will always come to you.
Mm. Yeah.
People will always come back to you, to work. That's how you stay blessed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we wrap up, I wanted to go and get your top 5 productions, so songs that you've produced that if you look back and say, if you had to stand and submit them to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which would be the 5 tracks that you have produced that you'd say, yeah, I'll take these 5.
Oh, wow. Well, of course, Home Alone, R. Kelly. Even though people, they feel the way they do about him now because of the position that he's in. But I would say Home Alone, of course, Let's Get Down, Safe and Sound, DJ Quick. Wow. Ooh, Different, Find a Way, Dwelle.
Okay.
And wow. You know what? Even though it really didn't get its chance to compete, I would say the record that I did on BBD, Find a Way.
Okay.
Yeah. Those. Damn. Well, you said 5. I would have to say, I don't know, man, because the Shaq record, the Straight Playing, like that was a hell of a record too. I don't know. But those
are you going for records that were your biggest, or are you thinking about your favorite? Because I've done interviews that have just gone viral, but I won't call them my favorite. I sometimes the favorite ones hardly anyone watches them. So for yourself though, I'm thinking about when you look back and says, "Oh man, it's a pity people didn't listen," but I really loved the work I did on that.
Yeah, but it's like throughout my career, most of the records that I've done have always been singles.
Wow.
So rarely did I do a record that was just on the album. Most of the records that I've done, most of them have been singles, but I'm just thinking of the quality of the records and, the impact, that the records had, Yeah. So I would say though, even though you said 5, I would say those 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So I always ask my guests as I wrap up that if you were stuck in an elevator and and you had to watch your favorite movie, what's your favorite movie?
Wow. Wow. You know what? This may sound corny, but I love I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Oh, the Kenyan Ivy Range one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of my top. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a yeah, because it was very much the Black version of those kind of Lethal Weapon kind of stuff, and Airplane, so it was it was good. Oh, okay. And then favorite song, not that you've produced, but your favorite, your favorite song by any artist or.
I love Africa by Toto.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah, Toto's one of my favorite bands, my favorite groups.
Wow. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, well, that's because that's from my musician side. You know, I'm a drummer. You know,
Okay.
yeah, so I love the percussion. Yeah. That's one of my favorite records, though.
Wow. I remember, yeah, when I interviewed Jackie McGee, she went and toured and with them back in 93 and stuff. And she says that it was a whole different type of experience being
Yes.
on with a rock band and stuff.
Yeah. One of my favorite bands, man, of all time. You know, of course there's others, but you know, Toto, that's my go-to.
Wow. I mean, did you play and do you still play and stuff, or does it
Actually, yeah, actually, Quick just brought me out of retirement. I didn't play drums. I didn't play drums for 20 years.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yes, for 20 years. And he just brought me out of retirement in 2022. And I started, so like I'll go do some shows with him. And
So he's actually proper. I mean, it's very strange to hear about a hip hop artist actually being on stage with a band. Everyone just seems, especially hip hop, they get their DJ and that's safe for them. But you said he's a proper musician and he wants musicians to support him on stage.
Yes. Certain cities that we do, certain venues, they're known for the live shows.
Oh, like Yossi and those
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. So
city
like,
winery. Okay.
right. So we just did Yoshi's a couple of weeks ago.
And you're back in your Northern Cali?
Yeah. And I sat in, I played drums on Let's Get Down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's online.
Okay.
And yeah, so yeah, Quick finally brought me out of retirement, man. If anybody can do it, you know, only he can do that. But yeah, he brought me out of retirement, so I'm playing again.
Wow. DOA didn't try and get you into university with Chucky and
Nah, that's too much work. I got to ease back in. That's too much work.
Because I've seen him play with his bass, and he's
man. DOA is like, you know, and I'm not saying it because he's my friend, but I've never seen nobody play bass like him. Like he's the best bass player I've ever seen. Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So wow, goodness. Yeah. No, as I said, I think it's straight. It's great that we're seeing all these little venues like City Winery and Yossi's popping up, giving our artists and bands a venue again, as you know, which is much needed, because you know because most of the 90s acts are doing DAC techs and DJs. So when we see you guys, I see Shantae Moore doing a lot of these city wineries and stuff, and Freddie Jackson and After Seven. It just feels like the kind of vibe that most people seem to be enjoying now and stuff. So definitely would look forward to seeing more of you guys on stage and stuff. But G1, it's been fascinating. I actually had no idea where this interview was going to go. I had no idea your association with. I knew you'd worked with Quick, but I didn't realize the extent of it. But I didn't realize that your extent of your history with Death Row and you know that was a even when I lived in LA, everyone was even afraid to mention Suge. So the fact that you were the same room and stuff. But you know, it definitely would be great if we get Quick to be able to talk about his new album and stuff and his career as well and stuff. So yeah, definitely appreciate that. And actually, Ricky, have you gone to see them on tour, New Edition?
Yeah, I've seen them a couple of times. You know, when especially when they come to LA.
Oh, you did the Culture tour last year? Did you?
I missed that one.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're on the Legacy tour right now.
Yes.
They just started. Yeah, so I'll probably go check them out when they come to LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The plaque behind you with the pink background, who is that?
That's Quick.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Rhythmalism album. And then there's to my right over my shoulder, that's R. Kelly. That's the Home Alone. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
And then
and I
there's
think that was his best album, the double album.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It actually went on to sell, I believe, 12 million copies or 14 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, I have a host of plaques, and you know, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think one of the things about the plaques is that it's because music is not the same. Music's not the same, and it's not it's back in those days we had to buy the CD or the album and stuff, and we felt like it had its value. But now, someone sends you an MP3 or you watch it on TV, or you watch it on YouTube, it doesn't seem to have the same value as it once did,
yeah. The
and
same
so
value. Yeah,
yeah, so I
correct.
do wonder what it is for you guys who create the music, knowing that you create it and it's pretty much anyone can listen to it for free, even if they're streaming it. It's does it then dampen the incentive to make the music it's unless a label says, here's 100,000, can you make us a hit?
Exactly. No, it does. It's like, like I mentioned earlier, when it goes back to, if it serves no purpose, I can't do it. Like, I don't get the same enjoyment out of it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, I'm not driven to just do music just because, because they've stripped the value to me.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
You know,
and we definitely missed that, and we definitely think that. But as I said, it'd be very interesting to see what happens. I'm glad that Quick is putting out music not because he needs to pay his bills, but just because. Is it more so just like, I've got music, I want to put it out there and do some shows, or what do you think his incentive is?
a lot of it was his fans. The fans have been asking for it.
Yeah.
And he has a huge following, and his fans have been constantly asking that. And he would mention it every once in a while, because he's always he's always still in the studio. He's always creating. I'm the lazy one at this point, but he's always creating, and he's always coming up with ideas. It's just embedded in him. That's just who he is.
Yeah.
So the fans started asking over and over, and then he started doing records, and I would go to the studio with him every once in a while, and he's playing me like these records, and I'm like, man, like, this is crazy. Like, you need to go on and do an album. So he kept talking about it, and then all of a sudden, he was like, man, it's been 10 years. It's time.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
did you ever think about doing your own, like a Quincy Jones Back in the Block, or just where you'd feature other people with your production, the whole album?
I did back then, and it was right before the industry changed. It started changing. But yeah, I was actually in pre-production, coming up with ideas for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then once the industry started changing, it just kind of I just put it on the back burner. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to go through all that.
So are you ever going to consider doing that then?
Maybe one day, maybe. I think I still have the power and ability, to pull it together. But we'll see.
Because I think the advantage of how things are now is that you can make music and put it out there at I won't say no cost, but you don't need to go to BMG to go distribute it and press up CDs. So you can make it and it's out there. And you can be creative with videos and some promotion stuff. But it's a creator's field where and cream rises to the top. So if it's quality, it will get its way out there. But but then there's also this fact that if Quick is putting out music like he is, he can then tour on it, and you know, he can get his fans to buy the physical copies if they want. So I do wonder if it's stuff like that you would consider thinking, okay, you know what, call on some of the people that I've worked with in the past and see if they want to feature on something, you know, get Ricky, where he, you know, he's the one that doesn't really have anything solo, get, you know, Raphael, you know, I know he's making video games and stuff, and just
Yeah.
get just and then, you know, just even do some instrumental stuff, and you know, even get Dwele and see if he's up to this. I mean, it's, you know, that's,
Yeah.
you know, when I spoke to Daryl Simmons, you know, part of the LA and Babyface team, he
Yeah.
came out with a Christmas album and got people to sing on it. I mean, he said he's been, you know, it was just a you know, a hobby to do, and you know, and so, and it's good to be able to do that and bless us with stuff. So hopefully, well,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see, man. You know, we'll see, man. I'm, you know, it's still on my to-do list, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a
Yeah.
few people have been commenting. They're talking. Sean saying G1 is underrated. There's Buddy B saying that you're joint with Dwelly with the jams. Diamond Onyx is also giving you props. So there's a few people who've actually are familiar with your work, and are giving you props for your stuff, and as I said, that kind of funk, kind of jams vibe is, and especially being a musician, I guess that's what contributes to the type of music that you're very well known for. And I did listen to the Home Alone just before we started, just to remind myself, although I didn't really think I could hear Kelly Price in it as much as I thought I did.
Yeah,
Anyway.
she's saying, Kelly sang on the bridge part, like the B section. Yeah. And,
but I think R. Kelly's voice was more dominant throughout
more
it and
dominant.
stuff.
Yeah. That's how he wanted it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pity you didn't do more for him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Actually, I did. I did Home Alone, and I also did on the Life soundtrack, the movie Life with Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah, Leia.
Yeah, I did a song called Every Day, I think, or something ghetto. I forgot the name of it.
Who sang it? He sang it on it?
R. Kelly sang it. And it was R. Kelly and Quick.
Yeah,
Quick rapped on it.
Yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah, I think it was called like The World is a Ghetto or something. It was, I don't know.
Okay, okay. Wow. I mean, if you had a word of advice to for any up and coming producers now, what would it be as we wrap up? What would you advise any up and coming producer now?
You know, just to you know, do your homework. You know, like we becoming producers, for us, we had to know producers. We had to know the producers before us.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to you know, we had to study, you know, and you know, and I will still say that it's still worth, you know, look into the producers before you, and you know, grab some of the elements of magic that was created for you, you know. You know, try to be original, but pull some of the magic from, you know, the ones before you, like we did, you know. And that's how you keep, you know, a generation of sound going, of where music will always be familiar. Like that's why, you know, they say that you know, music repeats itself. You know, like we grabbed from the people before us, you know, the Quincy Joneses and you know, like, you know, that sort of deal. And that's how you are able to keep music going forever. You know, and you know, be original, but at the same time, pull from the, you know, pull from us, pull from some of that magic. You know what I'm saying? That's, you know, that's available. Okay. You know? Yeah, definitely.
Who would be your top 5 producers then?
Ooh, wait. Of any era?
Yeah. So not any era. When you think about, I think we go back onto the 1970s. But then, if you think about the top five, that who would make your top five?
Quincy Jones.
Okay.
Michael McDonald.
Wow. Did you meet him?
Once. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. DJ Quick.
Yeah.
Babyface.
Oh, okay. With LA, when he did the LA stuff, or by himself? So
Both.
there was the, is it
Well,
because yeah,
I think a Babyface by himself. Wow, no, that's kind of hard because
that 80s LA and Babyface.
Yeah, because they had the deal and
the whole
TLC, Tony Braxton, Usher.
Yeah. Bobby Brown, Karen White.
Yeah. So, but definitely Babyface and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are my top five.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was no space for my favorite, Teddy Riley.
Dang. Oh, actually, no, I only mentioned four. Yeah, I got to give it to Teddy. Got to give it to Teddy. That's my number five. Exactly. Mr. New Jack Swing.
Did he not work with Quick and because I thought he did it for him, Quick, and somebody, Snoop, or was he a production thing?
Yeah. Quick actually worked with Teddy. I've never worked with Teddy personally, but Quick did. They did something together a while back.
Okay.
And I forgot exactly what it was, but yeah, Quick has worked with Teddy.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my number five, though. Okay.
Okay. Oh man, G1, thanks very much. I think what I would need from you would be a couple of pictures, because when I put this out, it'd be good to have sort of a picture to use as to promote the interview and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll send that over to you.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. But it's been great. It is just after midnight over here. But
oh wow, we've been on for what, 2 hours?
We'll be, as I said, when you asked me how long it goes, I said, it's I never know.
Yeah.
I never know, because it's when you're reminiscing about stuff. It's always very fascinating and stuff. So as I said, I thought I didn't realize where it was going to go, and I never do. But I always appreciate the time, and I appreciate the stories and things. What I did is I streamed it live on one of my channels, but I'm gonna edit it and put it out in different segments on my main halftime chat channel. So because it's very, very informative. So that's when that's why I needed some of the pictures, so I can, when I put it out there, people can get to see and stuff.
Man, I got you. No problem at all.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send that over to you. How many pictures do you need?
Based on the length of our stuff, probably 7. Well, I mean, it all depends. If you had stuff with yourself or with any of the people you've mentioned today, because what I'll do is I'll break it up into your time when you were Death Row, your time working with Raphael, time working, so it's like I break it up in those little segments and stuff. So some of the pictures that can reflect that is always helpful and stuff. But whatever you have, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let me try to put that together for you. What's the timeline on it? Like, when do you need it by?
No, I'll think by. I mean, I'll probably do this by next week. So, but yeah. So, but it will probably come out in a week and a half's time. So
Okay.
yeah. Anytime over the next couple of days, that'd be great and stuff.
I got you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and please don't forget to try and tap up DJ Quick so we can help get him on and stuff, because we haven't heard from him recently. So that'll be excellent.
I'll put that together for you, Nnamdi, and I'm thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Do you have a bio as well? Because bio.
No, I'm working on a new one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just just have my Instagram and Facebook for now. But yeah, I'm working on the bio as we speak.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is when you think about because when we're trying to, people say, okay, you can list all the stuff you produce, but then there it has to show that you watch who you are and stuff. But I mean, so whenever, hopefully, as I said, my plan, just looking at the date here, would be by the week of the 20th to come out. So hopefully by then, if we have stuff that just helps to just to let people know who they're listening to and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were able to did we send you over the discography?
Yeah, so I got that. Yeah, so I got that
website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that showed all the stuff you did, but it's more so just if there's any just a small bio about who you are and more in depth with stuff. But we've got about a week and stuff, so no rush for that.
Okay, I'll try to get that over to you as soon as possible.
All right. Well, I appreciate everything.
Man, I appreciate you, Nnamdi. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.